rolling.
Okay, this is an interview at the Jefferson Ferry, South Setauket, New York. It is the 18th of November 2003, approximately 10:15 a.m. The interviewers are Mike Russert and Wayne Clark. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Frederick Roge, September the 26th, 1921, New York City.
Okay. What was your educational background prior to entering service?
Well, in grammar school and high school, and after the war I went to Art Students League.
Okay. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I avoided the draft by enlisting in the Marines.
Okay. Do you remember where you were and your reaction when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
You know, I often thought about that. People were saying we were at war, and they bombed Pearl Harbor. I didn't know what Pearl Harbor was. And to tell you the truth, I don't think it affected me because I didn't realize how serious it was.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Why did you select the Marine Corps?
Well, I had been in the United States Army before the war. Roosevelt had the compulsory draft of 21-year-olds and older to enlist had to enlist for a year, but 18 and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds could enlist for the year and get it over with. And I was 18, 19 years old, and I thought, why wait till 21? I might have a nice job and then have to go into the service. It didn't make any sense, so I went down and I enlisted in the Army for the year.
Now, what year?
1940. And why I enlisted in the Marine Corps, we were sent to Puerto Rico to be trained by the United States Marines in amphibious landings. And I was so impressed with the Marine Corps and how they handled themselves and how important NCOs were to the privates. And the Army was still getting itself together. It was all mixed up. Nobody knew what they were doing. And finally, when the war did break out, I said to myself, I have a better chance in the Marine Corps than I would in the Army. And besides, when I went into the Army, I was training with a broomstick. They didn't have weapons. They didn't have uniforms. And as I thought, let me go into the Marines. I don't want to combat with a broomstick. At least the Marines had weapons. So that's why.
Now, when you were in the Army, did you have the old World War I type helmet and so on?
Yes, the old World War I type helmet, right.
You didn't even get a 1903?
No, later on, when we finally started getting organized in the Army, I was given the BAR, Browning Automatic. Yeah.
Right.
I was with a 37 millimeter anti-tank, and that was my main purpose was to protect those guns.
What did you think of the BAR as a weapon?
Oh, it's a marvelous weapon. Yes, I thought it was a very good weapon. Yes, really.
Okay. All right, so when you went into the Marine Corps, where did you go for your basic training?
Paris, Ireland.
Okay.
And it was an awakening now. I thought the drill instructors were going to kill me before the chaps had a chance at it. That's how rough it was down there. They were really, really splendid men that taught us how to take care of ourselves in combat.
Did they give you a rough time because they knew that you had been in the Army?
No, but being in the Army didn't mean anything to them. I didn't get any preferences or any promotions because I was in the Army. You forget your Army training, you're in the Marines now.
Okay. Do you think your Army training helped you at all?
Oh yeah, it helped me basically right face, left face, forward march, you know, that stuff. That helped me. But as far as being a soldier to the Marines, it didn't count.
How long did your basic training last?
Yeah, I think it was 8 weeks. I'm not too sure now. It's a long time. I think it was 8 weeks.
And did you receive any specialized training at all? Specialized weapon training, or
No.
did you receive a lot of amphibious training? Or any
the only amphibious training I had was when we were in Puerto Rico on those landing crafts. We had amphibious training in California for a while, and then extended amphibious training when we went to Maui before we go up. I'm getting mixed up here now. No, we had an amphibious training in California. We had-
Now, when you were in the Army with the amphibious training, what kind of landing craft were the old Higgins boats?
The old
where you
Higgins
went over
boats.
the sides? and-
Yes, over the side. The old whale boats.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
The old white ones.
When you went out to California, what did you train on? What kind of craft?
We had the the ones with the front going down.
Okay.
What were they called? I forget now.
Landing craft infantry?
Yeah, LCI, right. Yeah, LCI. That's what we had. And outside of that, most of the training in California was on land, up into the mountains, marching and drilling, which was pretty extensive and pretty tiring and hard.
Okay, what Marine Corps unit were you assigned?
4th Marine Division, 3rd Battalion, 25th Regiment.
All right. Could you tell us about where did you go after California?
Well, California, the 4th Marine Division was the only division that left the United States to attack enemy territory. Right from California, we went to the Marshall Islands.
So there's no stop at Hawaii? Then?
No. No, there was no stop at all, because then when we got to Hawaii, as we were passing it, then we got opened up the orders of where we were going. And when I got a look at that map of the Marshall Islands, it looked just like Tahoe. And boy, I got a chill up my spine. We're in for it now.
Could you tell us about what happened when you got to the Marshalls? Where did you go and what did your unit do?
Well, I was I was assigned to the forward observer with the 81 millimeter mortars, and I followed him around, and he followed the front lines. We were at the front lines all the time, and whenever they got into any difficulty, he'd call back to have the mortars range in on the target that they wanted knocked out. And
So where was your first landing?
was on Roy.
Roy?
Yeah.
Were you in the first wave?
I was in the second wave.
Second wave? Can
Right.
you describe the landings and as much as you...
Well, at this stage of the game, a lot of things are muddled.
Mhm.
60 years. Sometimes I think that this happened on Saipan, Tinian, or Iwo, it gets muddled up. But I ran into my first Japanese soldier in one of those trenches. I was crawling on my hands and knees, and the trenches were like this, and luckily I got to the corner first, and he was coming this way, but his head was down, and there was the helmet. I thought to myself, what am I going to do? So I just put my weapon around the corner like this, and I hollered, "Hey!" and I fired. And then I peeked around, and I got him. I think when I hollered, "Hey," he must have put his head up, and I fired. And well, that finished him there. He was a Japanese corporal. That was the first time that I got to that. Got into that situation. That's a terrible thing to remember, but well, it's them or us, right? So, anything else?
What could you describe your duties as a forward observer?
Yeah, I was a runner for the forward observer. He carried a walkie-talkie, and he spoke to the mortar platoon whenever the front line needed support. And my basic job was to protect him, and if anything went wrong with the phone, I was the runner. I was to run back and forth, tell them what's going on, and I'm back to the observer again.
Okay. So did you keep that duty on all of your landings, or?
Yeah. Whenever we weren't mixed up, trying to find one another after that.
Now, you were also on Saipan and Iwo Jima.
Yes.
Could you talk about those at all, things that you recall?
Well, on the landing on Saipan, I landed with the lieutenant and our squad. And as everything was all mixed up, and a lot of screaming and yelling, and the wounded, we were advancing, and this Japanese officer came running out of nowhere with a sword, and he swung at the lieutenant. The lieutenant put his carbine up, and he blocked it, and he brought the carbine down, and he shot the Jap right on the spot there. And as we were moving forward, trying to get organized, we spotted some Japanese in a shell hole, or a hole, whatever it was in there. We started moving in toward them, firing as we were going, keeping their heads down. And the lieutenant's weapon jammed, but it was too late to turn around, so we just kept going. And we jumped in, and we used our weapons on them. Then the Japanese threw a grenade. And the grenade went off. Thank God, I don't know of anybody that was wounded from that grenade. But it knocked the lieutenant's hat off. And then we came up and I started firing and did away with the Jap that threw the grenade. And then we went on from there until we reached our position that we were supposed to reach. And the casualties were pretty heavy, pretty bad. Especially in the landing crafts. Some of them were hit with shells and just incinerated the bodies. And being seasick, and the smell of the fuel, and it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you at all, one bit. When you're seasick, sometimes you wish you were dead.
Now, did you suffer from any kind of jungle or tropical diseases, malaria, dengue fever?
No, thank God. Oh no, I was fine. I got 2 scratches. A little scratch on my leg from my own grenade that I threw into a cave. I don't know what happened, ricocheted or something, and cut my skin. And another time we were being shelled by the Japanese mortars, and I dove for a hole, and my hand went on a piece of shrapnel, and that was hot. And I had a blister. Oh my God. So what I did, I had to take my K-bar knife and cut it, get that pus, whatever was out of there.
Oh,
Wasn't that a pleasant...
You received a Bronze Star. Where did you receive that?
Well, they said I was brave. I didn't think so, but they said that for what I did in the battles, that I should receive something in recognition for it.
Now, how early did you land in Iwo Jima?
How early?
Were you within the first landing, or?
Oh no, I was in the 11th wave,
11th wave.
and I was so happy. I'm in the 11th wave. That's great, that's when the supplies are coming in. The battle's half over by the time I get in there. But unfortunately, the general on Iwo Jima, he didn't see it that way. He held his fire. He said, let them get on the beach, and when the supplies start coming in, then start shelling. And no banzai charges. Just keep backing up, backing up, backing up. And that's what made it so very hard for us, that they didn't come out to fight. They made us come to them and made us pay for every inch that we gained. And as I said in one of those, I felt like I was fighting in the bin of wheat, that black sand. You take 2 steps, you slide back, 2 steps, you slide back. And it was in our weapons. The island itself was against us. Not only the Japs, but the island itself. And I think only the Marines could have taken that island. And they did.
That black sand must have been really hot,
Oh,
wasn't it?
no, it wasn't hot. No. Iwo Jima is not a hot place. In fact, Iwo Jima was quite cold. Yeah. We landed with our fatigues, and somebody overlooked a photograph of a Japanese before we invaded, Japanese troops landing on Iwo from the airplanes coming in, and they all had overcoats on. But nobody picked that up, and it was cold. D-Day night it rained, and it was really cold.
Did you get to see the flag raising at all?
You know, the 4th Marine Division was on the northern end of the island. And, of course, flag waving doesn't mean anything to us. We did it on so many islands. All of a sudden, there's the sound. It's like a sumari. What's that wave? Summer, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. It's Sumi.
Yeah. The sound started coming across the island, and we didn't know what it was. You know, it was coming toward us. Everybody's cheering, and all of a sudden the whistles of the ships are going. I look away in the distance. I saw that flag, the silhouette of the flag. Somebody said, they took them out, and okay, that was it. Tsunami.
Okay, so how long were you on Iwo Jima?
Oh, gosh. How long were we? That's a good question. I don't know. From February the 18th, was it, to March?
About a month.
Yeah, close to a month. Right.
Where did you go after Iwo Jima?
That was it. That was we went back to Red Camp, and we were getting ready to invade Japan.
What was your reaction when you heard about the bombings of Japan, the nuclear bombings?
Oh, that was it was such a happy feeling to know that I was going to stay alive. Japan had surrendered, but did they really surrender? You know, they're very tricky people. I was in the tent sleeping, and all of a sudden I hear, yay, yay, and rifles are going off. So here I am in Hawaii. What are the Japs doing here? You know? So we grab our weapons and we run outside, and they're all howling, the war is over, the war is over. But it takes a while for that to sink in, that the war is really over.
Do you remember any reaction to the death of President Roosevelt?
On my part, I had no reaction to it at all. I don't know. I never spoke to the other men about it. I don't remember any comments being made about his death. I mean, the man died, he died. A lot of us have already died too, so, you know. But I never thought I was going to come home. No. We had, what was it, a company of 235 men in the company that went overseas. And at war's end, there was 12 of us left. The rest were wounded or dead. But, you know, they keep sending men in, you know. And it's the new men that get the new recruits that get the veterans killed, you know, trying to help them.
Where were you discharged?
Bainbridge, Maryland.
And that was in 45, the end of 45.
Yeah.
Did you ever keep in contact with anyone that served with you?
Oh, yes. There was about 4 or 5 of them I kept in contact with. They lived in the Midwest or in Pennsylvania. And every holiday, they used to come to New York and stay with my wife and I. And we'd celebrate the holidays together. But then, like everything else, they got married. And who went here and who went there. You know, and there was, after they got married, we kept in touch for a little while, but then everything just, they had children and more important things to do.
Did you ever attend any reunions?
No. The reunions were in California or Texas. You know, one of them was in New York, I'd have been on, but I didn't want to travel there. You know, it was ridiculous. And how many of them would I have known? But, you know, it was over and done with, so let it go.
Any veterans organizations? Have you joined?
Oh yeah, I still belong to the Marine Corps League. I like the Marine Corps League. Yeah, it's like the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion. You know, we collect money and help the homeless and the crippled veterans. That I enjoy. I'm not as active as I used to be. In fact, I used to march with them a lot. And then in 1995, they told me, you can't march with us anymore. You just sit here and wait for us to come back. They didn't want me with them, you know. It's too tiresome for me.
Did you ever see any USO shows? Do you recall?
We had one USO show on Saipan with Bob Hope. But unfortunately, I was assigned to charge of quarters. And I had to stay in the company grounds while the show was going on, so I didn't get to see Bob Hope.
How do you think your time in the service affected or changed your life?
Well, I don't see how it changed my innocent years, you know. The war certainly changed that, and when I came back, I really don't remember it. My wife says a couple of times, well, quite a few times I heard her in my sleep. I thought I was in a bonsai attack or something, you know. But that went away. That slowly went away. Thank God for that. But thinking back to it now, well, I have to be very honest with you. The enemy I came in contact with personally, I have no qualms about it. I have no qualms whatsoever because they were Japanese. Because I've seen what they had done to people and left them out for us to see what they did to them. So I had no qualms about it at all. I think in that one thing, I told you I strangled a Japanese soldier. That was a terrible experience. It really was. We tangled and I got the best of him, which, as far as I'm concerned, was an easy thing to do because they were starving, they were thirsty, they just had no fight left in them, but they had to go on, you know. So I got the best of him, and I didn't know how long it was to kill a man, but it seemed like forever. You know, the gargling and I'm sorry of how it happened, but I'm not sorry that I did it because he was Japanese. I've known them to kill their children. I mean, it was ridiculous. In the caves, they made the women suffocate the children so we wouldn't hear them crying and know that they were there. We got that from the natives that on the island told us what they were doing. And I saw them jump off the cliffs. But what got to me when they jumped off the cliff, they always jumped feet first. What a terrible way to die. Your feet hitting the ground first instead of going head first.
Do you ever make use of the GI Bill?
Oh yes. When I came home, I signed up for the Art Students League. And when I went in, for the first 2 weeks I was there, they had students teaching us instead of teachers. I think they were taking advantage of that GI Bill, you know. And I thought to myself, oh, this is for the birds. I don't want him to show me how to do it. He doesn't know how to do it himself. Then I went home. When I went home, I set up a studio in my mother-in-law's basement. I wanted to be a textile designer. And bought books and learned how to do things. And then the first time I went out, I saw 3 or 4 designs. So I said, hey, this is great. And then from then on, I stayed with the textile design business, which I was very happy with. Being an artist was a great joy.
Did you ever use the 5220 Club?
See, I don't remember. I don't think so.
Okay. Would you hold this up in front of you and
Sure.
tell us when that was taken?
Sure.
And where, if you
Oh, this was taken in Maui, Hawaii, in 1942.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your interview.
Thank you.
I know I'm going to hate this when I see it.
No.